One group of people who might now be held to account, yes, we're going to get tough. The government, the Home Secretary tells us we're going to get tough on Just Stop Oil. We're going to get tough on Extinction Rebellion. We're going to get tough on those groups who go out, close off roads, for example, don't just cause inconvenience, but actually, think of groups of people out there like the self-employed. I know that no one cares anymore about the 5.5 million self-employed and small traders, but I do. And if they're going about their day's work and they're disrupted for hours by people who are deeply concerned about carbon dioxide emissions, maybe they deserve some compensation from groups who seem to be extremely well funded. Paul Powlesland, barrister from Garden Court Chambers, joins me again.
Good evening. On
the programme. Paul, I understand that people in Extinction Rebellion and Just Stop Oil believe in their cause. I would love them to go and protest in Indonesia or India or the streets of Beijing. They wouldn't last very long if they did, because that's the cause. If you're worried about CO2, that's where most of it's coming from. And we do allow protest in this country, peaceful protest. Some would argue in terms of the Palestinian marches every Saturday, perhaps sometimes too much. But some of these tactics are genuinely affecting the lives of innocent people, whether it's small traders, whether it's people on the M25 getting to a parent's funeral, or whatever it may be. There does come a point, doesn't there, where protest is unacceptable.
Yes, and that would be violence, but the disruption that Just Stop Oil and other groups have caused pales into insignificance when seen against the disruption that climate change is already causing to this country and will cause in the decades to come.
Well, that is a contested belief.
It's scientifically true.
It's a contested belief. We've always had climate change. We know that. But even if we believe that CO2 without which we can't live, although some seem to think it's a pollutant, the point is we are less than 1% of the world's CO2, and that number's going down.
We have some of the highest historical per capita emissions, and the point is...
No, we don't.
Yes,
come on.
Yes, we do. We do.
Paul, China has produced... Hang on. China has produced more CO2 in the last 10 years than we've produced since we started off as a country.
And the point is that when I'm protesting, I can't go to the Chinese government because I'm not a citizen of China. I'm a citizen of Britain. Mm-hmm. This is my country. I'm proud to be British, and I think my government should stand up and do the right thing and protect our citizens from the clear danger that climate change
Do you know what?
causes.
If we all live in caves tomorrow, don't eat meat, don't travel to work, it'll make no difference.
Well,
Zero difference.
If all people around the world do that, it will make a difference. And
they won't. Do you know why? Because the vast majority of the world's population earn less than $3 a day. They want the things that we've got. They want cars, they want fridges, they want deep freezers, they want all these things. They want to become richer, and we're not going to stop it.
I think rather than a generalised debate about climate change, let's actually look at these proposals.
I'm looking at motivations. This is what motivates you people, and I disagree with you. But your actions are unacceptable in a free society. People going in, damaging artworks. this is not acceptable behaviour.
I think when compared to the clear harm that climate change poses,
No.
It is, because what is going to damage more art over the coming century? It's going to be climate change. Floods.
Why?
Because of floods.
Oh, good Lord. Listen, you can believe in your apocalyptic vision if you want
to. It's already happening, Nigel. Have you heard about that? Have you spoken to farmers in this country? You talk about no food, farmers, no food.
What happened in the winter of 1836? It was a lot wetter than this year, and it truly was. But your behaviour is unacceptable, and the Home Secretary finally says he's going to get tough, and to begin with, it's going to be compensation. Your groups are heavily funded by some very well-known people. Are you worried that all your money will be taken to pay compensation to those whose lives you damage?
Well, it's interesting. Lord Warney, who produced this report, he's a paid lobbyist for fossil fuel firms and arms companies, and that's why he's come up with these proposals.
You mean he works for companies that provide jobs and make wealth?
I don't know. However, you might be surprised that I actually think this proposal might actually be good for Just Stop Oil and other groups, because it will. At the moment, we've got this thing where it turns into a big news brouhaha around, isn't this awful? But actually, if people are forced to go through a legal process to get compensation from Just Stop Oil, they might actually sit and consider who is causing the disruption here. Is it these people standing up for their children and their grandchildren's future, or is it their government that is betraying them by not taking proper climate action?
How do you think any of this helps your cause? So, I mean, all you do is alienate a huge number of people. None of it is helping your cause. And generally, we can see the protesters are middle class, privately educated, with names like Jocasta and Benjamin.
Not true.
Oh, it certainly is.
I've been working class background.
Yeah, no, they're tying themselves to gantries on the M25 in their gap year, or whatever it may be. How are you helping your cause?
It can be seen that every single time climate protesters actually have a chance to be heard through our judicial system and have a chance for the evidence to actually be considered by ordinary people rather than it being put through a media lens. Ordinary people are actually sitting up and noticing maybe these people have a point. And that's why repeatedly climate activists are getting acquitted by juries. And juries are hearing they have a right to acquit defendants on their conscience.
I think juries are scared perhaps of the mob. Maybe that's what it is.
No, they're not at all. Juries have no risk of being attacked by a mob. That's ridiculous. They are acquitting people because they actually hear the evidence in court about climate change and realise that actually the far greater danger is not people bravely standing up to take action. The far greater danger is the inaction of our government.
This is just nonsense. We have reduced carbon dioxide emissions by more than any other Western government. We've done it by deindustrialising. We've done it by putting people out of work. We've done it by making the country poorer. We're nuts to have done what we've done, and you still complain.
We're not nuts. We should be.
You still complain. These acts of vandalism, people going into... there was an attack, a couple of old dears attacking one of the 4 remaining copies of the Magna Carta the other day. I mean, they should be in prison for the rest of their lives, shouldn't they?
It's interesting you talked earlier on about, private school Jocasta. Why? Let's talk about a female vicar in a Church of England vicar in her 80s. Why is it?
Clearly round the twist.
Why? No, she's not. She
should go to prison for the rest of her life.
I've read her book. She's a deeply heartfelt activist who understands that her moral duty in this time is to stand up. So where does this stop?
Do you burn down public buildings? Where does this stop? The logic of your argument, if you think it's acceptable for 2 old women to attack a copy of the Magna Carta, where does it stop?
They attacked the case, the Magna Carta,
Well, they were hitting it with a hammer. Had the glass broken, it may well have damaged the document. Here they are. Look at this. Absolutely bonkers. I mean, they should be locked up for their own safety, frankly. They clearly can't look after themselves.
I think the question your viewers want to know is why does
this stop?
Why does a Church of England vicar in her 80s feel the need to stand up and do these actions?
Probably because she's lost her marbles.
No, it's not.
I'm asking you, if you find this acceptable, where is your limit?
Sorry?
Where is your limit on what's acceptable?
I personally don't do actions that are criminal.
Do you find that acceptable?
I think the far greater harm caused to our country is not from shattering a display case, but not from taking the actions that we need to take over climate change.
With that last sentence, I rest my case. I think you've made the case for me. But you see, that's the point, folks. We at G, Paul and I can come in, we can disagree, and we do disagree, genuinely, but we can do it in a pretty civilised manner.